Matt, what is up? We are joining you live just after the Celtics 146 to 101 win over the Washington Wizards. It's a 45-point win. Don't get those particularly often. And I do mean this as an insult when I say the Washington Wizards are a fun team to play.
Yes, they are. It is always good to just be able to beat up on a team. I do believe that is the largest win margin of any game in the NBA this year. So by the transitive property, the Celtics are the best team in the NBA.
I'm going to be really curious what our offensive rating is come tomorrow morning. Because I know there was a lot of talk about how going into this game we had the fourth best offense.
Mhm.
And when you get a 45-point win, especially early in the season, it tends to juice those numbers a little bit. So we could be flirting with one of the top offenses in the league right now.
Yeah, and flirting with the fifth seed in the East.
We are the fifth seed in the
I
East
don't know.
now because we have the
I thought that would
tiebreaker
have a
over the
little bit
Magic.
more. Yeah, I thought that would be a little bit more impressive, but it's exciting to be in the top five. Really, I think, and
But
we're what, a game behind Miami for the 4 seed. We're 2 games behind Toronto for the 2 seed right now, and we did it all without Jaylen Brown tonight, out with I believe an illness. So we'll see if he can suit up against the Lakers tomorrow. But good to be able to beat up on a lesser team, even without Jalen playing.
yeah, and it sounds like Luka's gonna be out tomorrow night, so we may not even need him if the team can keep playing like this, which is a big if. Um, then he could take the rest of the season off. I mean,
Yeah, Jordan Walsh is going to
this
go out
felt
there and take
like.
LeBron's lunch money, and it'll be fine.
Did you ever have a game in Little League where the other team, it was maybe the end of the season, and they put in some kid who had been like asking to pitch all year,
Yep.
but the coach didn't let him pitch for a reason, and then he was just throwing like 30 miles an hour right over the plate. Everybody's just like hitting doubles and home runs, and like everybody on the bench is like just hounding the coach to let them pitch hit.
Yep. Yeah.
This felt
This
like
was
that game where I'm
this
sure
was a
like
mercy rule
Amari
game.
Williams was like tugging on Joe Mazzulla's shirt, being like, "Let me out there, like let me
Yes.
just get some dunks in at this point."
I'm gonna be honest, like we're gonna have plenty to say about all the things that happened in this game. I feel like there should have been more minutes played by like the garbage time guys, because I mean, in a 45-point win, this one was out of hand pretty early. It seemed like Derek White, I believe, didn't play in the entire fourth quarter. Peyton Pritchard was still out there hitting threes in the fourth quarter, up by like 30. And so I was kind of
But
hoping
garbage
like
time is Peyton Pritchard's favorite thing.
it was, but this is a
It
new
is
Peyton
his
Pritchard.
favorite.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
still his favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
And Joe Mazzulla does not believe in mercy. I don't know if you knew that. He's not a mercy guy.
That I absolutely understand about him. This from the coach who plays bombs going off during practice to get his men into a battle mentality. I believe that Joe was not going to take his foot off the gas, but it was I think an opportunity I wish we could have seen. Like I would have liked more Ugo minutes than we ended up seeing in this game. You had mentioned we were texting like Joe Mazzulla had a very quick hook for Ugo after his second foul, and then we didn't see him again for another 2 quarters. Amari Williams not getting into the game, a little disappointing, but overall, like it's you're nitpicking when you're finding things to complain about in a 45-point win.
Yeah. I mean, Hugo still ended up with 18 minutes. It seemed like in that goes garbage time minutes, he was just scoring at will, which
Yes.
made me wish he got more just because of how well he was playing towards the end. Um, yeah, it was a little weird that Amari Williams didn't get out there just because I believe this counts as one of his like pro games
Games with
since he
the
was available.
organization. Yeah.
Um, and I don't think we're trying to develop Xavier Tillman, so I could totally see him an argument for him in garbage time lineups. But when you're debating garbage time lineups, then what's really the point at that stage?
Yeah, I
Can
did
I?
have a Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I start us off with a wish?
Mm-hmm.
So my wish is that right now, CJ McCollum, he's getting out of the showers after the game. He's sitting at his locker. He's putting some shoes on. He's texting his agent, like, I'll I'll take a bench role for a contender. He's googling CJ McCollum trade rumors.
He's
Not a
not
lot's
finding
coming
much
up.
because of that contract. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's just kind of somberly putting his shoes on, kind of dreading the press conference. And then Chris Middleton comes up with just like a chilled bottle of scotch
Yes.
and two glasses. And he just like puts it down on the bench between them. And then Cam Whitmore goes like, "Can I have a glass?" And they both go, "No. Get the fuck out of here, you 2 of 11 bitch." And then they like throw towels at him till he leaves. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wish that that's happening right now.
Okay, I was waiting for.
Yeah.
I thought like I was waiting
It
for
didn't
the
really
wish
go
to be
anywhere.
like, yeah. No, that's just a hypothetical scenario that we can
Yeah.
imagine happening in that locker room. I do.
Well, I think it is happening in the locker room because I wished for it.
That's true. Yeah, I feel deeply bad for those guys. They both, I think, deserve. It's weird. The NBA is a weird place where there are certain teams where guys that you've watched their whole career, where they've had like relatively successful careers, like Chris Middleton's an NBA champion, like CJ McCollum made All-Star teams. He must have, right? At some point next to Dame. Maybe not, but he's a
I
very,
think he's
very
made at least one, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, he's an
Um,
all-star caliber player.
Yeah, he's had some playoff success with those Blazers teams. He's done stuff. And there are just certain teams in the NBA. You think of Washington, you think of Charlotte, unfortunately you think of Sacramento. There are a few others, but there are teams where you're just like, I feel sad in my heart that that player plays for that team. And that like seeing Chris Middleton come into this game, I had fully like blocked out mentally and emotionally that Chris Middleton plays for this Wizards team. It's really, really sad watching him out there. And I hope that the NBA can figure something out in terms of it's not even parity, it's just like the Wizards keep making bad decisions as a franchise. Um,
I do think
and
Chris Middleton's highlight to this season was last week when he hit the game winner over the Bucks that made Giannis delete all of his posts.
yeah, yeah, Chris
Because
Middleton,
that
that
came
might have been
hours after losing
that's
a
a little
game
bit
to
of
these
revenge
Washington
right there.
Wizards. Yeah. No, that was his highlight.
Yeah.
Um, and I fear unless he ends up on another team, it will remain his highlight for this season.
Yeah. I think the Wizards, there are certain teams that just should be allowed like a start over button and like they should just waive everybody and let their guys go to like teams that they want to play for. Because it's not nice to be like we're making you play for the Wizards this year. Um, yeah.
But
But
they need 13 guys, so
they really do. It's just they're taking like guys with good NBA careers and reducing them to. It is a little bit like Chris Paul reminiscent of like, yeah, you had a great career and now you're in hell. Um,
I don't know. It is one of those things where it's like if you want to make $30 million,
you got to
like
play for
nobody's being forced to
Washington.
play NBA basketball.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if 30 million is enough to play for that team. Like it's
It's
just
it's not a sad place to live. Like
I
let's
love
not get
DC. I'm
too
not gonna
crazy
lie.
about it.
Yeah, but that
Yeah, you live
team
in a nice city and you make tens of millions of dollars. I don't actually feel that bad for anyone on the team, but
I want to be clear, you
this
just
is
had a
going to be a
whole
rough season.
wish about how they were going to punch Cam Whitmore in the face
I
over a
never said they were
bottle of
going to
scotch.
punch. They were going to throw towels at him.
Okay. Yeah. So, I'm going to get right to the meat of it
Yeah.
about this game. What will this be remembered for in the annals of history? Was this the Derek White game or the Jordan Walsh game?
I think it was the Jordan Walsh game.
Okay, tell me why.
And I think a lot of that's just because of what our expectations are for those two players. Where Derek White getting 30 is something that happens. Like, Derek White's
First
just a
time
dude
this
who
season.
gets 30 now. Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about, he's kind of had a slow start to the year. He'll get 30 again this season, I have no doubt. I thought this was probably his best passing game of the year, that he really took up the responsibility of like being the point guard, especially since him and Peyton Pritchard switched off like who was running the offense. So it was never him and another guy, it was just him, which was cool to see. Career high for Jordan Walsh. Played as good defense as he's played all year. Was just snatching balls out of the air, dunking. His offensive game, like, I was surprised by the leap he took on defense that kind of got him into the starting lineup. But his ability to like drive, maneuver around guys, have touch at the rim is something I did not see coming from Jordan Walsh.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I guess why I asked the question is just kind of, is this kind of a turning of the corner for Derek White, and seeing hopefully he can continue this kind of that lead like ball handler playmaker role. Like, he seemed more comfortable and more aggressive, but it really was Jordan Walsh's, that I want to say it was the second quarter where he was just like, I'm taking, I believe he might have beaten his career high going into this game was 14. He might have beat that just in the second quarter. He was just everywhere,
Which
getting
the
all the
14 he
rebounds.
set last week.
Yeah.
That's a
So
recent career high.
by next week, it's
So
probably going to
yeah,
be 26, and then it'll just keep climbing, and eventually he'll beat Wilt's record.
exponential growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're asking me what's gonna be remembered from this game, I think it's the Jordan Walsh game. But if you were gonna ask me who was the best player on the court tonight, it was Derek White.
Yeah. Neemias Queta with a quiet 17 as well. Like, it's again, it's tough to take too many things from games where we play the Wizards, especially the Wizards without like Alex Sarr, so they didn't have like the big man depth that they usually do. But it it's fun to just see all of your guys kind of like I really like that kind of analogy of everybody is gonna go take a chance to like hit off the batting practice pitcher,
Yeah,
and so that was good. I think Ugo did a lot of good things in this game. And it was tough to see him like benched for so long throughout the middle of the game. Again, like later in that game, I wanted to ask you if you put any kind of stock, or if you took anything from late in that game. He was able to score pretty much at will against Washington's bench unit. And it was good to see him like feel comfortable. He was driving to the hole. He was doing some nice little like gathers that enabled him to get some layups off. He also like was showing a little bit of a tendency to like put his head down and drive, and then panic and throw the ball to whatever was closest to him, which was like a Washington defender a couple of times. And I wonder if that is, do you think, just part of the growing pains of learning how to like handle the ball a little bit more in the NBA?
yeah. I think everything Hugo does well and everything he does poorly sometimes looks by accident. Where
Yeah.
he just drives like out of control sometimes with a lot of energy, and when it works, it looks crazy and awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it doesn't work. But I do think that's like a part of his game is just kind of chaotic energy. And a lot of the times when he drove and then passed out, I mean, it didn't result in a turnover. Like it did work out in the end, even if there was a moment where he was out of control, confused, flying through the air and chucking it to Baylor Shireman. Um, like, I don't entirely know that that's a part of his game that needs to get fixed. I'd like to see him, have a higher percentage on drives, even though we haven't seen like a ton, and it's tonight they were working. Um, so I'm not sure I'm all too concerned with it. It does kind of remind me of like sort of a Euro style basketball. Like, I remember early Ginobili would just run and throw balls places. Like, he does kind of have that like chaotic
Manic.
Eurobasket player who's 19 and willing to make, yeah, a little manic, willing to take risky passes too. I think is part of it.
Yeah.
Um, I one thing that I was kind of surprised by was during this game, he had that block in the first quarter that was like a
Hmm.
powerful block out of nowhere. Where when I was watching it, it looked like his head got like slightly above the rim, and then he came down with his full force and like knocked it out. And I was like, I like once every 5 games, he does some crazy athletic thing like that. Like he had a dunk in preseason where it was one of those where like his head gets up above the rim and then he comes down to dunk it. And I was like, I gotta see some Hugo Gonzalez dunks. So I went to Google and I typed in Hugo Gonzalez dunk highlights.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Google AI said there is no basketball player named Hugo Gonzalez that is known for his dunks.
Not yet.
Like, I
I
could
think
not
that's
find a Hugo Gonzalez dunk package. Because
yeah.
he doesn't really dunk unless he, like, needs to because he accidentally got above the rim too high. Like, his choice is always to do the scoop layup.
But you're
Yes, I think
saying
I just want to see
he's
him
a
dunk more.
sneaky, yeah. I thought that was something that Jordan Walsh was dunking with a little bit of authority tonight. I think it's like I'm
Yeah.
hoping that as he kind of in like the Walsh kind of molds, as he gets more comfortable with having the ball in his hands and being entrusted with more offensive opportunity, he's willing to add a little bit more oomph to it. But as long as he's putting the ball in the hoop, I think that's awesome. Um, Josh Minot, I wanted to remark on very quickly. Not a huge game for Josh Minot, but looked very comfortable and very aggressive shooting the three tonight, which is something that has just been a trend this year that seems ongoing. I did get like a little bit of a chuckle out of like, he did hit the side of the backboard with one of them. He did airball another
And
one, but then
airball one. Yeah.
yeah, but then he did hit
But he
two
kept
out of like
shooting.
yeah, he was two
Yeah.
of five from three, which like it will take from Josh Minot.
That's 40%.
Yeah, and I think it's just it's really interesting to watch like his development. And nope, I'm not gonna take any kind of a dig at any man named Sam Hauser. Even though
Um,
Josh Minot did shoot a
so
better
one thing I'll
percentage
say
than
on
him
Josh
tonight.
Minot,
Yeah.
yeah, is that what we were talking about after last night's game is this small ball lineup here to stay? Like, is Neemias Queta just going to be our only center going forward? And it looked like, based on the rotations we ran tonight, like that is the case. Like, I expect for the next 3, 4 games or till the wheels fall off, that our rotation's going to be Josh Minot is our backup center. Because in this game, the only real times we struggled were on the boards and getting rebounds. And I was kind of expecting, like, a Luka Garza to have a 5 minute run or to give Amari Williams some run. But it does seem like Joe is committed to that small ball lineup approach when Neemias Queta is off the floor. Um, so do you think that's just going to be what this team is for the rest of the season? Or is it going to just be this Joe Mazzulla kind of chaotic, changing our lineups week to week, month to month?
I think it's likely that, and I mean, we did okay. We did win the rebounding battle today,
Yeah, we
and
won every battle. It was a 45-point win.
we did win every battle. I'm looking at literally every single counting stat. We did win. They hit three more free throws than us, and that was it.
Oh, so
Um,
sorry.
yes, yeah.
Could have been a 48-point win.
Yeah, and it's disappointing that it wasn't. But nonetheless, we persevere. Um, I think that it is likely that the rest of this season will kind of be chaotic in the sense of like game to game. Joe Mazzulla, I think, is going to kind of go with the hot hand. I think like is perfect, has shown like he's perfectly willing in the second quarter to be like, well, I had kind of a game plan for what we were going to do here. It's not really working, and this guy has more energy, so I'm riding him the rest of the game. And I think that does make him unpredictable as a coach. It makes our lineups more unpredictable. I do think the trend will be, barring like a trade or an acquisition or anything like that, will be that the second unit, the bench will predominantly be small ball. That we might get, Xavier Tillman or Luka Garza or Amari Williams minutes here and there. I think they'll be like a part of the rotation, but not a big part of it. Not as a traditional like you're the backup big kind of a guy. It seems like I was watching the pregame press conference with Missoula, and he was talking about the small ball lineup and his kind of like affinity for it. And one thing that he mentioned specifically was with the small ball lineup, 40% of our points scored are coming from layups. And that was something that he seemed really interested in. Of like, if we're getting kind of easier looks at the basket when we have that small ball lineup in, I think that's something that he wants to pursue, which does kind of make me think about going into this season when he had talked about, yeah, we want to be kind of pushing the pace, and that was a point of emphasis for him in that press conference as well, of we want to still be working on pushing the pace and flying up the court and creating those kind of easier looks for ourselves. So I think in that sense, it does seem like that's kind of what he's trending toward, implementing into our second unit offense, which again doesn't have a ton of like playmakers or like natural scorers on it. Is like, how do we get easy buckets? Oh, like when we go small, we're getting more layups. Like, let's pursue that.
Yeah, in at the start of this week, we were in the bottom five in drives to the rim in the NBA, which is really rare to see out of a top five offense because that's typically how you get easy baskets in the NBA, is driving to the rim and either finishing or kicking out. And it does seem like in this game, that was a point of emphasis where Jordan Walsh was catching it, driving. Like everybody was very quick in their decision making of catch the ball, go to the rim with it. So I'm wondering if that was probably a point of emphasis, especially with those smaller ball lineups. If he wants to see more layups, spacing the court out and having five guys who can catch and go, um, is a good way to do that if you don't have like one downhill attacker you can put in the game.
Yeah, and I think again, it's also, it seems like like we've been able to find ways to score that haven't been kind of the traditional. Like we've been thoroughly, I think, like are hovering around league average as a 3-point shooting team. So it's like we haven't been driving to the rim a lot. We're not exceptional from three this year. Part of that is like Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard have been unreal from mid range, and that's been carrying our offense a lot of the time. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of the other stuff is just, hey, we've found that like a Jordan Walsh and a Josh Minot, if you put him in the dunker spot, will find ways to score. And so I think, yeah, I expect that the small ball lineups will continue and we'll still see occasional Luka Garza minutes, but I don't think we're going to be as heavily reliant as we were to start the season on like, all right, Luka Garza is going to like set a screen and we're going to kind of run a more traditional offense that way. It seems like it might not be as necessary as we thought it was to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, what's been carrying our offense till now is we're shooting about league average percentage wise, but we're taking more than almost any other team. And then our percentage in the mid range has just been insane. So between that, and we're also winning the possession battle every night because we don't turn the ball over and we force the other team to turn the ball over. So we're taking more shots, more of them are from three, and our percentage in the mid range is close to what other teams are at the rim. Um, so if you do those three things, you're going to have a high offense. It's just how sustainable those are compared to just getting wide open layups. Any other takeaways from this game? It's kind of hard to have
Yeah,
anything
I
that's
mean,
gonna track out of this game just because it seemed like such an outlier.
yeah, this was fun. It was a fun like warm up for tomorrow's game, honestly, is kind of how I look at it. I would say the only other takeaway, I think this was the highest assist total we've reached in a game so far this season. We had 35 tonight. Just happy to see. And again, Washington famously, I believe they've been calling it the MV because there is no D in the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area right now with how Washington is playing. So it's tough to take anything against a team that doesn't really play defense, but it is nice to see more ball movement. And so hopefully that's something that can continue. But again, passes that worked tonight might not work tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we had a similar conversation after the Grizzlies game where
Yep.
sometimes teams just aren't getting in the passing lanes, so your passes look tremendous because you can, shoot an arrow across the court and it goes between six guys who aren't paying attention, and
Yeah.
it's a wide open three.
And they are only allowed to
Um,
play five guys at a time, so one of our guys isn't paying attention, and that's not great, but it's working anyway.
it actually went through the crowd and back out.
Yeah.
Other thing I wanted to touch on, some rumors came out this week.
We love rumors. Here's it, Jason Confused.
So Brett Siegel reported that teams have been getting mixed messages
Mm-hmm.
on the availability of Ivica Zubac. Um, he also said that the Celtics were an interesting candidate as the Clippers have expressed interest in Anthony Simons in the past. Teams that have called about Ivica Zubac
Mm-hmm.
have said that the starting price has been 2 first-round picks. On a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in this?
I think I'm pretty interested. I had also heard that same thing about the 2 first round picks kind of being the asking price and about the Anthony Simons thing. That's curious just in terms of like, I don't know what the Clippers are trying to accomplish here.
They're making
If they're
bad
moving,
decisions.
yeah, if they're moving off of Ivica Zubac, it's not in a win now move. It seems like, especially if it's 2 first round picks, it seems like they might be kind of deconstructing a little bit. Um, I think we had talked about Nick Claxton in the past as like a big man trade target for the Celtics that kind of checks a lot of boxes. I think Ivica Zubac is a different player, but is, I think, a top, whatever you want to call it, center in the NBA. Extremely talented, extremely reliable double double, which I think is something that the Celtics just don't have at that position, obviously, and isn't easy to come across. But yeah, somebody who averages, I think, like 16 and 12 or something like
Yeah.
that. He's very capable. I think he's grown throughout the course of his career as a defender. He's a little bit more athletic than he used to be. Yeah, I mean, I would be interested depending on if it's Anthony Simons and 2 first round picks. I think it's tough to beat that in terms of value of like who else are you going to get for that cheap of a price? Which like 2 first round picks is 2 first round picks, but like Desmond Bain just went for 4 first round picks. Mikal Bridges went for 5, and so getting somebody who's like a borderline all star at the center position. For 2 firsts and Anthony Simons, I think kind of is a steal at half the price.
Yeah, I rate Ivica Zubac much higher than I rate Nick Claxton. Like, I think
Yes.
he's a different level of center. Um, he's averaging 16 and 12 this year. He's another guy who's just always made his free throws, like, at a 75 to 80% clip, which is something that kind of worries me about Nick Claxton and some of the other centers on the market. That if we get a guy who can't make free throws, then we're really getting a backup center. And I don't want to give up draft capital for somebody who's going to play behind Queta. Ivica Zubac has also played on a lot of playoff teams. So I weighted a lot higher if you're averaging, 16 and 12 on a team that has high aspirations and is making it into the second round of the playoffs every year.
Mm-hmm.
The trade itself gets a little tricky because I've seen the Anthony Simons 2 firsts for Ivica Zubac as kind of what people are throwing out there, which Ivica Zubac only makes 18 a year, and is under contract for the next 3 years, which is part of what makes him such an appealing trade target. Is that's a super team friendly deal
It's a
for what
great
it brings.
contract. Yeah.
And if we're able to just flip Anthony Simons for him, then we're automatically below the tax, don't have to worry about spending really for the rest of the year. But the Clippers are also right at the first apron. They have like 1.2 million below the first apron. So either this would need to be a trade that's following other trades where they've already sold off guys, or we would need to find a third team to take on some sort of contract from one of the teams.
Which I have heard Brooklyn
Which,
floated for.
yeah, but it's probably going to be Bogdanovich, who's making 16 for the Clippers, or Derek Jones Jr. on the Clippers making 10. But either way, who's providing the draft capital then for Brooklyn to take on that contract? Because they're kind of they're the pretty girl at the dance this trade deadline. So any two teams really that want to make a trade need Brooklyn to be the third team. And they have a lot of cap space, but they don't have endless cap space. So whoever wants to use that cap space is probably going to have to provide some kind of pick. So if we're talking about 2 firsts to the Clippers, then do we also have to send, we're out, we can't trade a third first. So are we sending all our seconds to Brooklyn? Are we trying to give them like some young player? Like what? I don't know that I want to give up all that much more than 2 firsts.
Yeah, I think we're in a position where like Brad Stevens has done a good job of kind of stockpiling some second round picks, which have in recent years in the past decade we don't have infinite, but we have like a couple that we can use selectively. I think Ivica Zubac is one of those guys that is worth using one for. It depends, again, how much more it would take to get someone to swallow a contract. I've heard Terrence Mann being floated as someone that they might be exploring kind of moving off of that is a little bit more appealing, that would take a little bit less to convince a team to take them on. So, yeah, I think it becomes a question of like how much are we willing to give up to that second team. I personally am like, if we can get Ivica Zubac, who I think like it would be interesting to work him into our play style. I think the Clippers have played a little bit of a different offensive game than we have, but I also think it would be like bringing him on would immediately make our center rotation, I think, one of the best in the NBA, going from like Neemias Queta followed by Josh Minott to Zubac followed by Neemias Queta would just be like an otherworldly transformation. So yeah, I think it's worth exploring. Again, depending on the price, I'm fascinated by what exactly the Clippers are doing, if they're gonna go full fire sale, because it's tough to be like, we're moving off just Zubac, who's one of our best players, on the most team-friendly deal. And then it's, well, what are you doing with the rest of your guys? Are you still trying to push for it? What are you... So, again, I'm interested to see how it plays out.
It's tough for them because they, as you probably know, don't have their pick this year, and they owe it to OKC. Um, so I almost want us to like talk them into keeping Zubac, just so we don't give OKC the number 1 pick somehow. Like this could end up being a butterfly flaps its wings, and the Oklahoma City
Okay,
Thunder win 10
see.
championships.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean,
Which I
right
don't think
now
we
it's
can.
looking like
I still
OKC
say yes to the
might be cruising
deal,
that
like
way
if
anyway.
Zubac is
Yeah.
available.
Yeah. In other Los
Yeah, so I
Angeles
still say
team related
yes, but
news, real quick, just because
yeah.
this came up and I was keeping my eye on this all night and I just double checked on my phone. Uh, RIP to LeBron James's streak of scoring 10 points or more in every game, which I think has been going for like 20 years.
Did that just
Ended
break?
tonight. Yeah, finished the game with 8
Yeah.
points tonight on 4 of 17 shooting. So he did try really hard to get to 10. Um,
Yeah.
But
I
that's
checked
it's
before we went on, and he had 6.
yeah, brutal.
Yeah,
I
R.I.P.
want to
Do you think
say
that's a
like
good sign or a bad sign for us for tomorrow's game?
I think
Because is he gonna come
ooh,
back
is he going to be
motivated?
demoralized or motivated? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. I don't know. I think it's probably. I mean, Austin Reeves had 44, 5, and 10 tonight. Like, the Lakers are crazy even without Luka Doncic. Yeah, I'm not worried about it because I do think Jordan Walsh is going to be able to clamp up LeBron. And I'm going to. You can put that on my gravestone, and I'll be proven wrong tomorrow, but it'll be a fun way. It'll be a fun one to watch. Um, yeah, I'm just
I
trying to,
don't.
like. We
I think
were we
Jordan
were
Walsh is
not
on
yet
Austin
10 years
Reeves.
old when that streak started. And that's like a wild thing to think about. Um
What's his streak of getting at least 8 points, though?
I'm guessing since he entered the NBA. It's
It's
got to
probably about
be.
the same.
Yeah. Yeah, wild. I do wonder if like this streak ending does make him like contemplate his place in the league as a whole. It's got to be brutal to just be like I hung on to this for 20 years and tonight I tried so hard and couldn't do it.
Yeah. I think then you just remind yourself that you are LeBron James, and you're probably fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I don't
Like
have
it's
that
a.
luxury, so I can't imagine that. But but yeah, for him, he'll probably have a glass of wine before bed and wake up and be like, "Oh, I hate Boston. I'm gonna go try to kill them."
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. And he's going to blame us somehow for it and use it as some weird, like, reverse psychology motivation. Yeah, so that'll be a fun game. Next thing I wanted to do is we're a little bit far out.
Hmm.
We've been talking a lot this season about what options we have at center.
Hmm.
And I'm starting to think it's going to end up with us chasing a buyout guy. I think we're pretty appealing when it comes to the buyout market because we do have kind of an obvious hole at a backup center. Um, so I went through the teams of teams that I don't think are going to make the playoffs or at risk of
Yep.
not making the playoffs who have a veteran big on an expiring deal.
Hmm.
I have like 3.5 or 4.5 guys. Did you come
Okay.
up with any? Because I know I told you about this beforehand. So we can go back and forth, or I can just do mine.
I came up with at least one who's not like a. He's not a. I don't know. I came up with one that I'm interested in. He's not like a bench backup big kind of a guy, but he's one that I've had my eye on for years.
All right, what's the name?
So here's the thing. The Bulls started this season so hot. And everybody was like, the Bulls are crazy. The Bulls. I never believed in the Bulls. They're not, whatever. They've now
I think
lost
I
five in
have
a
this name
row.
too.
Yes, they've lost five in a row. They're 9-12, sitting at 11th, just below Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference. And we all know how good that situation's going. Nikola Vucevic. What's he really doing there? I think if the
Yeah.
Bulls continue to skid, that's something that they might explore and try to kind of retool and rebuild around Giddy, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely think the Bulls are kind of headed for a rebuild. The first week of the season when they were 5-0, a little bit fool's gold there, given what we've
I was
seen
saying.
since then. And I think Nikola Vucevic, I think, could easily ask for a buyout if it seems like they're not going to make a playoff run this year. I think he's another guy who we'd almost be auditioning him for mid-level next year,
Hmm.
where if he can still play like he has the last few years, then he's definitely like a mid-level kind of caliber guy come next summer, or at least a partial mid-level if he's making 8 or 10 million a year. Because he's always been a guy who can space the floor, shoot up a good number of threes, and then just suck up rebounds. Like that's been his game, and that's kind of what we need in a rotation center. The other guy I had from them who's also expiring, I counted him as my half, was
Okay.
Zach Collins. um, because Jalen Smith on their team has been kind of getting a lot more playing time this year. And if you're the third center on the Bulls and getting DNPs and you're not making the playoffs, I think you're more likely to get bought out than if you're still getting playing time there. So I could definitely see one of, if not both of those guys looking for a buyout around the trade deadline. Um, I'd rather it be Vooch just because his high watermark on his play is a lot better than Zach Collins. But they're both, NBA rotation bigs, which is better than what you can kind of usually find on the buyout heap.
Yeah, I think the question then becomes what are they looking for once they're bought out? I think the kind of assumption for buyout guys is always like, oh, they're gonna go try to like sign on to like the most competitive team. I do think Vucevic is someone that has kind of been talked about around the Celtics for a while. His play style fits in really nicely. Again, being able to space the floor the way he does and his comfort shooting the three. I think if he's looking for like a pure kind of fit wise, and also a team that's able to probably offer him more than a team that is up against it even more financially than the Celtics are, it's not a bad option. So I think Vooch is a guy that I would definitely be keeping my eye on. Who else did you have?
Yeah, I think the one downside of Vooch is the defensive end. Like, if you have him on your team, he's going to be in a deep drop guarding pick and rolls, which means that your guards have to, like, really fight over, which we do have a lot of personnel that can do that. But
If him and
I'm just
Anthony Simons
imagining
are on
him
a
and
pick and
Anthony
roll, it's
Simons trying to guard a pick and
yep,
roll together,
yep,
it's over.
yep.
Um, so this is a similar vein, but Yusuf Nurkic. It's on an expiring deal with the Jazz. They have a few
Hmm.
young big men that they're going to try to get minutes down the stretch of the season. Not as much as a spacer as Nikola Vucevic,
No.
but definitely a rebounder and more of a rim protector.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do like Yusuf Nurkic. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see how he would work in terms of again, not at all a spacer, but I'm remembering that game that we went up against the Jazz, where we had that narrow
Oh, he
loss to
killed
them.
us.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy that like there are a few centers in the NBA who still play a style that just like we're gonna dominate you physically, like in the paint, we're gonna out rebound you, we're gonna do all those things, and I feel like we haven't had one of those guys in a while. I'm trying to remember the last one we had, and I honestly like
Al Jefferson? Uh-huh.
I was gonna I was like Aaron Baines maybe bad like, but he was never. Yeah, so it's like it would be fun to see us kind of acclimate to that, but that would be a bigger play style adjustment and like scheme adjustment than someone like Vooch. Of the two, I think I would still like lean Vucevic and figure out how to cover for him on defense, but yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, kind of a poor man's Ivica Zubac.
Yeah.
Probably only plays like 10 minutes a game for us or something like that, but kind of a change up pitch, if you will. Like,
Yeah.
comes into the game, gets 7 rebounds in 10 minutes and checks out. Next one I got, also kind of along a similar line. Uh, the Phillies been getting worse. I know they hit a big game winner a few minutes ago, but now that Embiid's back playing big minutes, and I think his name's Boba, the rookie guy on their team that's been getting big minutes. Andre Drummond is kind of getting pushed further and further down the bench. He's only making 5 million, so he's probably an easier buyout. Also expiring. If they fall out of the playoff picture, what would your thoughts be on an Andre Drummond buyout?
I'm about it. I Andre Drummond's another guy whose kind of name has been floated in rumors around like, oh, if he gets like bought out or if he's on a cheap deal or whatever. I think there were even some back when he was like making big money. There were some rumors floating around about him in the Celtics. I'm a fan because it seems like I mean, obviously we know what he provides with the rebounding, with the whatever. He's been taking some threes this year. I remember when we played Philly, he was like 4 of 10 from three for the season, and it's like if Andre Drummond's a 40% shooter, um, but no,
MVP season.
I think it's also he it seems like he has good vibes. Like I
Yeah,
was watching that Philly game. It seems like he's just like a good locker room guy, a good bench guy who's like very easily accepted his role. Like Andre Drummond was an all-star and like an all NBA center, I think,
two-time All-Star.
in Detroit. Yeah. Um
Am
did
I
he make an
making
all
this
NBA
up,
team?
or did he sit on you once?
He did. That was a yeah. I went to a, I want to say it might have been a preseason game. I went to an NBA game at TD Garden where Detroit was playing Boston and Andre Drummond fell into the first row, which I believe I had like snuck onto. I don't think
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
didn't
even
buy
have
the
tickets
seats.
for,
You know.
yeah. But it was like the fourth quarter of a game, and there was like half the it was empty basically. Whatever. Andre Drummond fell in my lap, and it was the heaviest thing I've ever felt. Um,
I
but
can
ever
imagine.
and that was the moment that I was like, man, he'll be a great Celtic someday. But yeah, no, I think I would love it for the vibes, for the story, for the on-court production, as well as the locker room stuff.
Last guy I have, who's probably the most exciting, but maybe the biggest reach, is Rob Williams is on an expiring deal.
Yes, absolutely. I would love it. I've seen rumors about him being traded to Sacramento most recently, but in
They're definitely
general,
shopping him.
yeah. I don't want him on that contract necessarily. Um, but if he gets bought out, sign me up immediately.
Yeah, I've heard that they're shopping him, and it seems like he is kind of falling out of their rotation as they're playing more and more young guys. Um, I'd love to see him on a good team again, just because of a lot of the things he does with like vertical spacing, and just rolling to the rim, just pulls the attention away for other guys to take advantage of. And outside of Danny Advia, I'm just not sure he's playing with that many guys who can take advantage. Um,
I
I'm
will
sure.
say,
Yeah,
um, again, there's always the health thing with him. That's the biggest
yeah,
downside that you have to watch out for. In terms of like, if we're gonna take a chance on a guy who might not be healthy, but when is healthy, kind of gives us some production. Uh, I recently, after our last episode aired, or the one before that, where you had talked about doing a PR rebrand for Xavier Tillman,
yes.
my brother's fiance had reached out to me to let me know that she considered Xavier Tillman to be, in her words, a basketball terrorist. And so I think that there.
Was this based on my PR
No, this was
or
prior to
just
listening to
his?
your. I mentioned Xavier Tillman's name, and she was like, "He's a basketball terrorist." And so I think that there are people out there who wouldn't mind being like, all right, that roster spot could go to another like kind of injury
Yeah.
prone guy who's probably a little bit better when healthy, than Xavier Tillman. But there's options out there.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that roster spot and Chris Boucher's are probably the ones that are up for grabs.
Chris Boucher
If
would probably get cut first, but I know that there are people out there who
it's
don't want
debatable.
Xavier Tillman around. I'm not one of them. I believe that he
He
can
has had a
be
few
on the
rough
bench.
minutes on this
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, those were the guys I'm kind of tracking right now. Um, if another team plummets, maybe we'll do another one of these.
Absolutely.
Um, Speaking of big men on this team,
Mm-hmm.
Neemias Queta
Yes.
killing it this year.
Fantastic. Most improved player.
Definitely on the Celtics.
Yeah, yeah.
But he does, in a theme for this podcast, he does not have a great nickname yet.
Nope.
Um, we've been kind of relying on Nemi.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing on Celtics Twitter, some people have started to call him the anomaly, which I don't hate.
That is sick. It is giving like comic book superhero,
Yeah,
supervillain. Like, yeah, I like that a lot.
I like the tone of it. And I do feel like he needs something that's a little bit comic booky, just because he is kind of like a lot of his plays are very much larger than life. Like he's always
Hmm.
jumping over guys and dunking, or just like ripping the ball out of the air. Um, so I'll give you a couple. I don't know if you came up with any.
I came up with too many. I think
Oh,
it's fair
awesome.
to say.
Do you want to
Yeah.
go one for one back and forth, or how you want to do this?
However you want to do it. I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I think I have nine for them. So
I
however
probably
you
have
want
like
to do it.
five good ones. So the Portuguese Punisher.
The Portuguese Punisher is very good. I like that a lot. Yeah.
And then this is in Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
Latuga, which
Let's
is
shoot.
it means a Portuguese person. It's like calling someone like the American or like the Scotsman. Like a
Yeah.
Portuguese person is Tuga, so Latuga is the Portuguese.
Okay. Uh, eh. I like the idea of it. It is weird that there isn't like a the American or like the Irishman or whatever. There is no like the Portuguese men. Like
No, because they
Portugal, you
insist on
should
using.
figure that out.
I went down a whole rabbit hole. They insist on it being Tuga.
I went on a separate Portuguese rabbit hole, but we'll get to that eventually. What else you got?
This is one that I don't know if it's entirely a nickname, but
Hmm.
the Queta Quake. So like when he dunks, we all go Queta Quake.
I also have Quake on my
Oh,
list.
nice.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Meech with the Reach?
Meech with the reach.
It's fun to say. It's a little bit of a stretch for
Yeah.
his name.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple of these are like references.
Hmm.
So Street Fighter Q, because
Okay.
do you remember Q from the Street Fighter games?
Mm-mm.
He was the tallest playable character in the Street Fighter games. He was like a big
Okay.
robot, and he wore a trench coat.
I can see that. I'll have to
Yeah.
like look this up after, but I don't mind that.
Um, the Q Continuum
Hmm.
from Star Trek. If you wanted to go down the Q Continuum route, which were like the godlike aliens, and they were like mischievous in Star Trek. Omniscient Q and Quantum Kata.
I like Quantum Kata a lot out of those.
And then I was also thinking about Q Branch from the
Hmm.
James Bond movies.
I
Uh,
gotta
we're,
watch more stuff because you're
mm.
throwing out references that I just have no context for.
So the Q Branch was it's actually what MI6 renamed their like gadgets people to. It was James Bond's gadget guy was Q. And he would
Oh,
always say,
okay.
"Don't touch that." When
Yeah,
so I was thinking he would have like
that
a
I
Q.
see.
Don't
With that context, I like
yeah.
that a lot more. Yeah.
But Q in that stood for the quartermaster. So I was
Hmm.
thinking we could call him the quartermaster.
I like the
Um,
quartermaster
I
because
was
it's
also
also like
thinking
any
Quantum
quarter
Leaper.
that he's playing.
That one
Uh,
because he
Quantum
leaps.
Leaper. Okay.
And then UDO, unidentified dunking object.
Okay.
Um, that's really those were mine. I also
Hmm.
had a fun fact about him, but I can save that for the end.
Okay. All right. I'll do mine and then I'm excited about the fun fact.
Yeah.
So, I think I might start off with like the ones that I'm like the least excited about. So there's the Block Ness monster. He's not Scottish, so it doesn't, he's just a monster on the court. Um, Not in here, Nemi. Yeah, that one. This not in here.
He does need to
Um,
develop like a
he needs a thing. Yeah,
Matumbo no kind of a thing
yeah.
when he blocks, but yeah, I'm with it so far.
The Blocksmith. Um, let's see. Catastrophe.
I considered Catastrophe, but
Yeah,
that
I
does
think
sound
you
like
gotta
he
keep
did something bad, you know? Like it
Yeah.
feels negative about it.
Okay. Um. So this was I recently just rewatched all the Lord of the Rings movies, and I was thinking about kind of like the idea of like a gatekeeper. So I had the Gatekeeper. Um. Just like you shall not pass. Um, let's see. This one I don't know why I wrote it down because I thought of it. It made me sad, and then apparently I wrote it down anyway. Queta quarantine. I was like, you're just nope. Nobody else is allowed in around here. And then okay, these were the two that I think were the most. All right. If you had to guess, what country in Europe consumes the most octopus?
Portugal.
It's Portugal, 15,000 tons.
Do you have Blocktopus?
I have Blocktopus.
I'm not making this up. I did have Blocktopus.
Oh my god, yeah. So I thought of it and then I was like, well, what's the connection? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, Portugal eats so much octopus.
They do.
So that one I had with a parentheses, Portugal, 15,000 tons octopus. And then the last one, this one, I'm curious to see what your take on it is. The Lisbon Laundryman.
Why the laundryman?
Because you come around him, you're going to get washed.
Ooh, I do like that.
Yeah.
Lisbon laundryman.
Yeah. So that was my list of those. I do, like, not in here, Nemi kind of grew on me.
Yeah, it's simple enough. Like,
Yeah.
I can see myself saying that during games. Like how to myself, I always go, why not my not when he hits a three?
Yeah.
And I
Of
feel like
yours,
that-
I think, like, I would do the same thing with, like, oh, that's the Portuguese Punisher. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, Portuguese Punisher. I've been saying Meech with the Reach to myself, but I do understand that's not how his name is pronounced.
Yeah.
So that is the one downside. The fun fact I have
Mhm.
is, did you know, so his two awards that he's won, he won a ring for the 2024 NBA championship, and he is also the proud winner of the 2022 Best Personality Award presented by the Portuguese Basketball Federation.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's a great award to
I love that about him. Yeah. This team
Apparently-
has got some great personalities.
Well, I almost led with that because I do feel like we haven't seen enough of his personality this year. And
Yeah.
apparently he had the best one
In
the
Portugal.
or in the Portuguese Basketball Federation.
Basketballs. Yeah.
There might have been better personalities that weren't playing basketball. But still, a pretty high personality award.
Yep.
So hopefully one of these
We're going to
nicknames
see
will
more
stick,
of that come out.
and
Yeah.
it'll really break him out of his shell.
I'm excited to see it. I think like once he really like once we lock down the nickname, I think the personality will follow.
That's
I
the
think
key.
it helps that he's like consistently kicking ass in every NBA game now.
Listen, we did one of these for Hugo at the start of the year. He
Mm-hmm.
immediately started the next game. We did one for Jordan Walsh.
We're
Just
now
hit his
7
career
and
high.
yeah, we're 8-2 since Jordan Walsh has been inserted into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
he's only had 20 plus point games since we gave him a bunch of nicknames.
true. Yeah.
So,
By the way, I did find my brother's fiance also our first fan of Slippery When Walsh, to our knowledge.
hey, did she vote in the Twitter poll?
I don't know if she voted in the Twitter
There is
poll.
a Twitter poll up. It's still up for the Jordan Walsh nickname. And Slippery When Walsh has been gaining ground.
Has it?
It has. So if you're a fan of the Slippery When Walsh nickname and possible merch, because I do think it would work well as a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Go to the Twitter account and vote for Slippery When Walsh.
Yeah. All
We'll
right.
see you guys tomorrow after the Lakers game. Take care. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.